in here, and delightfully, everybody else has kind of raised the question, so I don't need to do much. I think that I will just pass on to a story I wanted to read. I'm from the Caribbean by birth. Left there at 16 years old to move to Canada and lived there about 35 years. There's a very, very blue light in my eyes. I feel like a Walter Mosley novel. And so part of what happens to people like me, people like Nedimo Okorafor, who is Nigerian-American, born in the US, but Nigerian-American, to people like Minister Faust, who is African-Canadian, as an African from the continent, is this label of Afrofuturism can be one that doesn't feel like it exactly fits, even as it speaks very closely to what we're trying to do. Also for people who write in a mode of the speculative that does not divide neatly into the future and the past, as so many of our cultures don't divide the future and the past neatly. So I was talking to Ronaldo this morning about the Caribbean and some of our the fact that huge portions of our region are going to be underwater very soon. And I wrote a story for an anthology called Drowned Worlds, edited by Jonathan Strawn, Australian editor, that was specifically about drowned worlds and what's going to happen in the future with the rising seas. And I tried to write a science fiction story and have been trying to reclaim my voice as a Caribbean writer, and just things weren't working until I threw down well, I did not throw down the laptop, but I picked up a drawing pad, turned it sideways, got out all my colored pencils and just started writing sideways. I was getting like 6 lines to a page. And what I got, I'll tell you right now, is it's not stated in the story, but I was thinking about one of those islands and what could be left, because some of the Caribbean is mountainous, so we won't be gone, but what's left, and what's left when the water table has been ruined. And I thought, you know, what's going to be left is a dead island. A dead island is a duppy, is a ghost, and ghosts are always pissed the fuck off. So listening to everyone here, thank you so much for all your ideas. I come to conferences like this, as someone who's not a trained academic. I come to find out what the hell it is I'm doing, and always come away with something generative. So listening to Valerie just now, I thought, you know, since the past haunts us, we can, to us, haunt the future. I probably won't get through the whole story, but I will do what I can. Yam, feed me now. Yam, when I am dead, I shall feed you. A Nigerian grace. Everybody gather on the bus now, thank you, please. Sir, beg you don't try to pick the trumpet flowers. You might cause damage. Yes, sir. Me no say you pay for an all-inclusive tropical vacation here on a little nipple of mountaintop that is all left to my country, but trust me, some things you don't want all included. Not since the sea uprise and change everything, things like trumpet flower bushes. How many of you coming on the wondrous watery tour? Gather in, everybody, so I could count heads. You in for a treat this morning, like I tell you. Submerged cities, underwater skyscrapers, and an audience with the wise old fish. If you ask him nice, maybe he'll let us come back down from the peak. But people like to hear me. The tour last week had some from foreign ladies who feel so they were too tourists to mind their manners when tendering the requisite offering to the wise old fish of the mountain. So what you carrying on like that for? Did I tell you not to pick the trumpet flowers? Stop with all the screaming, please. I warned you, you might cause damage. It's all right though. The trumpet flower plant is fair-minded. Even though you killed 2 of her future possible generations, she only take from you the same number of orchids you take from her. What you didn't realize is that orchid is Latin for testicles. Just give thanks, it's only 2 flowers you pick. I don't know what would have happened if you had picked 3 or 4. Try and lie still, sir. Our friendly resort staff soon come and fix you up good. Just remember, gratuity is not included in your bill. Our workers rely on your extra generosity reward for the good service, according to how seeing to your needs is the only industry so nowadays. Here, you can use my scarf to stanch the bleeding. You don't want the smell of blood to bring out the mongooses from the holes. But stop. The rest of you are not on the bus yet? Get on, can't keep the perspicacious Mr. Fish waiting. Yes, find yourselves a seat. We provide every luxury on this here bus. We oxygenate and filter the air for your comfort, no extra charge. You can even take off your helmets, no airborne irritants in here. In your seat pockets, you will find your inflatables. You each get 700. Don't fret, they index to the American dollar. In case of sudden tropical depression, you will find they remain relatively stable. Can't promise the same about Mr. Fish though. Now, before we set out on today's marvelous and malleable tour of our once prosperous nation, you're gonna have to tell me if the password changed. Well, no lady, it's not game we're playing. What, do you think I already know the password, only I'm not saying, but see ya. After it's you people from foreign who come up with the new passwords. You know, a code phrase you always want us to say to you at irregular intervals. It was yaman. No, it's the same one? Yaman then, yaman. All right, driver, we're ready. Guests of this beautiful resort, don't mind the lurching of the bus. This is one of the ones that wake up one morning with legs instead of wheels. Even the bus them and all had to come to them senses and swim for dear life when that last doggy tide come true. Never mind though, here in the islands or the mountains, we could do worse than have sentient buses. Biggest problem is when they take it into them head to hold our picnic them to ransom in order to get more fuel. Picnic, that means child. No, ma'am, it's no problem that you bring your 9-year-old on the trip with us. It would be educational for her, yeah, ma'am. By the way, if anybody see a pig about while we're following the Camino, it named Malky. Did you see him call him for me, do? Thank you, please. Over on your left, you can see the trembling waters of the island's former nuclear plant. You know what they say? If my swamp a rock, you best don't knock. Don't get it into your head to go for no sea bath over there. You might come out again as pretty as me. You think I didn't notice you staring at me? If you tell me your room number, you and me could spend a little sweetness later, 10% surcharge, of course. And you have to provide certification that you have 3 clean blood tests in the past 6 months. The extra eyes give me 360-degree vision. And at least we never have to worry with combing any hair anymore. To tell you the truth, I think I was happy to lose it all and get more vision instead. Papa Fish tell me I must count my blessings. If you cast your gaze just beyond the shivering bay, see that scrim on the other side of it, forming what looked like an edging between the mountain and the sea? Yes, sir, like a frill. Well, that frill stretched all the way around the foot of the whole mountain, except for the places where the cruise ships dock at the resorts. You can guess what that frill is? You ever read a book named The Goats Look Up? No, my mistake. Stand on Zanzibar. Ask not for whom the bell tolleth, that's all me I say. The bridge we're crossing on right now is taking us over some famous ruins of former industry. This new body of water, we call it Sugar Lake. No, you can't get out the bus to take pictures. I know it smells nice, like boiled sugar sweeties. Funny thing about that dubby tide, time was the biggest you would get is a king tide, and that was plenty big. All that melted ice from way up and down yonder. Hey, you little 9-year-old picnic, you could tell me some of the effects of rising seas, of swollen oceans pushing an island like this one down under the sea? You look like a smart girl who pay attention to your lessons. Yes, floods, what else? Rivers running backwards, sewage rising up into the water table, crops deadening because the soil gets salinated. Very good. You forget one though. For a long time, we didn't have any beaches anymore. People like you and your mommy stopped visiting us. Things did bad them their days. Not enough jobs, food crops doing poorly, but it's all right. We're coming back. We're coming back again, both the tourists and the things that drowned. Why? Now this young dumpy tide, this new thing. Nowadays, it's like nothing that get drowned is really gone. Dumpy, how do you mean what it mean? Now that I think about it, I'd have been worrying out my soul case from the beginning, asking me what words mean. I see most of you never drink your phrase books this morning. You have to take a dose every day for your protection. The water here not safe for owner to drink. You don't have resistance to build up. But I was saying, When the long time ago sugar plantations get submerged, it's like that event leave a residue. A big sugar plantation duppy. It just sit down below there and brood. It make of every plantation the island ever had, all of them. All those boiling houses where people who looked like me but with fewer eyes were forced to feed long poles of sugarcane they had cut from the fields into the grinders to squeeze out the sweet juice. Then they had to pour the juice into some rotted big cauldrons to render it down to molasses and then to sugar. Every so often, one of the people who looked like me, except eyes, would nod off from fatigue and get a hand caught in a grinder. So all those dumpy hands, they sitting down below too. Beg pardon, ma'am, I didn't mean to upset you, little girl, and she's so clever. But I have this tour guide script to follow, see? Could see her. How the script get tattooed on the inside of my bottom lip in little peeny letters. The whole script fixed, day and my mouth. So you understand, I don't have no choice but to speak it. His master fish make it to be so, yeah man. I could continue? Thank you, please. Oh, no, sure you don't spy a pig out there in the murk? I hope he's not lost. He's such a little guy, only standing high as my shoulder. I prefer to have him with us on these rides. He helped to keep the mongooses away. Long and short of it is, that swamp below make a molten sugar. Sure, we call it Sugar Lake, but it's more like syrup swamp. Now we have to move along. If the bus stop here too long, the heat of the bridge will burn her poor feet. The pain give her the belly run-ins, and we inside that self-same belly at the moment. The facilities, absolutely, sir. The waste reclamation unit is at the back of the bus. Any other bodily fluids you care to donate while you're in there are gratefully appreciated. Or any bodily solids. You don't even have to remove any bones first. And sir, don't fret if what you see coming out to you don't look exactly like what you expect. The pea turn into hundreds of little frogs and hop away to hide in the dark corners. Is how you folks say it? Change is good, right? Yeah. Next stop is the twinkling city. See all the rainbow colors as the light catch the oil slick? Pretty, not true? Picnic child, you're too smart for me, you're right. No light, not in the sky to make refractions in the oil slick. The actual city, of course, is down below the surface. We don't want to see? All right, I will open up one window. You're going to have to clear out one at a time. Don't worry, I will stand by and make sure the work don't reach long fingers in and pull you out to the mongooses. Oh, how's he gone? Why he opened the window before I was ready? Never mind, I'm ready now. Who else wants to look? Yes, lady. Lean out, I will grab your waist. If you screw up your item and gaze hard, you might see thousands and thousands of lights flickering down below. We now know where the electricity coming from to power the city. But there underneath the oil, it's still going. Traffic lights still clicking from red to green and back again. Factories still are run. I bet you anything the university still full up of scholars experimenting on the wonders they find in the uprising sea and studying the results and making discoveries and arguing and publishing. Now, as I was going to say to the rest of Ulu, the oil slick have a circumference of approximately 325 square miles and is about 29 feet deep. I say oil slick because that is what it was at the beginning of the Duppy tide. But like everything here, it changed up. It have a way nowadays to rise up all of a sudden and grab seagulls from out the air. At night, it will sometimes whisper to us in our dreams. Those who can't hear it have a way to die screaming before they wake up. Perhaps you're already beginning to hear it when you're sleeping. Those who hear it have a way to die screaming before they wake up. Show of hands. All of you hearing it except that man in the noisy shirt. Maybe the shirt drowning out the sound of things you need to hear. So when we get back to the resort, they will have a ticket waiting for you for a flight home. You will have to leave right away before night comes. Your choice though, only try don't doze off between now and when we get back. Come back in now, lady. My arms don't get tired exactly, but put a tender life in my hands like this, and after a while I start to get certain impulses. To let go, or to hold too tight. Quick, close the window. Yes, of course I was here when the Duppy tide made landfall. It's the reason I'm still here. On our TV stations, we had meteorologists telling us for days to get out, get out. Local weather website had a live feed. I would watch it on my phone during breaks at work and on the computer when I was home in the evening. What, do you think say tropics mean backward? Tropic. The feed didn't look so bad though. Long shots of dark sea and a dark sky, screech of the wind whistling past the fixed camera. Camera view look a bit unsteady from the wind making it vibrate. Nothing we never see before until I look at it good and realize the camera image not split into the usual two equal horizontal bars of slate sky on top of midnight sea. Up at the top of the image, a shallow bar of lighter gray. That was all the camera could see of the sky. The lower bar, the one taking up more than 7/8 of the computer screen, that was the W tide rising up. I waited too long to leave. Most people did evacuate long since, but I couldn't find Malky. You sure don't see him up there in the dark? Sometimes I think I spot him, but I can't really tell him to work. I couldn't leave him all alone. We have to speed up, time getting short. Over here in this boiling bay, all the fights we ever fight for freedom, for independence, revolts against hunger, protests for wages, that laughing waterfall, this land had stewards before us. Rush driver, rush past all of them, all the zombies. How many of you know is this part of the world zombies come from? No hands. Well, now you know. Finally, last stop. I will let you out the bus just now, but don't get too close to the whirlpool. You have to coop on it from a distance. This island have a bedrock of ancient limestone, so we get sinkholes. Some terrible things get pushed down into sinkholes over the centuries, lost and then forgotten. But that thing outside, that is all the sinkholes with all the cargo. That is sinkhole papa. And yet, all the ocean it swallow, the level's only rising, not going down. Master Fish did, well, I was going to say the unflappable, but a fish had best be able to flap, you don't find? So, Master Fish the intensely flappable. You feel him now? That vibration rumbling up through you, that sound too loud to hear, but so deep it make your inside shiver? My generous guests, what you're looking at is the open maw of Master Fish. He's shouting. He been shouting since the W tide beach him up here on the mountain, and we think him finally getting an answer. Check the skyline. Dark. 7/8 black with a little gray line of sky on top. W tide come down again, even vaster. Master Fisher call out for him mama. I'm so excited to see what changes she will bring this time. I could turn my side out. Any last questions, fish food? How to escape the tide? I'm sorry, friends, we don't have the answer. I never did escape. Yeah, man. Thank you. Questions, comments, or affirmations? Great. Thank you. Well done. I come from a tradition of writing in Caribbean vernaculars. I am somebody who moved from Jamaica to Trinidad to Guyana, so I can't stick with just one, even though I'm Jamaican. Somebody who's from the English-speaking Caribbean would be able to hear all my accent. It goes all over the place. And I come from a tradition of authors writing in their vernaculars. As you write science fiction, it's assumed that the audience is mostly white and mostly non-Caribbean. And so I realized that even though I had this value and had been writing in Caribbean vernaculars for years, I was starting to flatten them out. So I've begun to experiment with undoing that and with also not reading especially slowly for an audience that might have to struggle. Because science fiction people can learn freaking Klingon. They can cope with a little bit of Trinidad.
I enjoy hearing you read, and that's a gift because I've heard some really amazing Pulitzer winning writers read their own work, and I was thoroughly bored.
Yes.
When you write your dialogue, are you just like dreaming it and it's coming to you? Or I mean, dialogue, writing it so it's so alive, it's very hard. And just trying to figure out your inspiration, how you get it so clearly there and alive.
Lord only knows, but I find it easier than writing plot, for instance, because I don't know. It's just, again, I come from a tradition of the man of words, of the person who's an orator. And my father was an actor, a trained actor. So that might help, but I'm also just kind of, my brain is primed for words and language, so it comes fairly easy. The story can take years, but I can write a paragraph in dialogue.
I was so struck in the movement from the first keynote to your thing with the with the clip that we saw with Get Out, where he starts to sink and it's almost like he's sinking against the cadence of her voice. And this kind of cadence of drowning in your own story as well, and how then your reading carries us and keeps us buoyant through it.
It's been wild how the various presentations have kind of tied in together. Yeah. I was, as I was doing the research for the story into what will happen to the islands that between the Caribbean and Brazil, I think they carry 60% of the world's biodiversity. And I got quite depressed and emailed the editor and said, this story's really, really hard. It's like, it's personal. And I think that's the difference for a lot of us who like reading in this mode, who come from some kind of endangered beleaguered community. It is very personal. We have fun with it for sure, but it means, and it enables us to talk about and dream about that notion of survival. So many. My father's friends, who were writers from the Caribbean, people like Kamal Brathwaite, Merle Hodge, and I could go on forever. Plus, I've been reading science fiction since I was. I remember the day when I realized that Samuel R. Delany was a black man, when I first saw a picture of him, and I've been reading science fiction forever. And it was a life-changing moment because I didn't know anybody else who looked like me, who was interested. So my universe doubled in size. And doubled in size at the hands of a master. That man can make a sentence do some work, like some Rihanna work.
Yep, exactly.
I'm curious about, in the world of the story, you said that so there is still this discrepancy in wealth gap, and there is still this population coming to feed to it. I'm curious about how much you fleshed out in your mind what the rest of the economy is like.
It was hard to do because I was, as I said, the island is a ghost. So what they're on, I'm not exactly sure. I think I just kept channeling Miyazaki, and the way his ghosts are sort of unanswerable. So I don't know that there is an economy. I'm not even sure there is an island. And it's not working, but it's doing what it used to do to reel in the people it's going to feed off. None of that is in the story, so I've had some really puzzled reviews. Do you need to wrap?
We have 4 minutes.
We have 4 minutes.
Is this considered that cli-fi term? I've just recently come across this climate
Oh,
science fiction
perhaps.
cli-fi.
Yeah, perhaps. Part of what I was going to say is that the definitions end up being stuff I don't necessarily distance myself from, but it's not like I necessarily sit down and say, I'm going to write. I mean, in this case, I knew that's what it was, but I didn't have a term for it. What I have found more and more is people calling Afrofuturism in the literary sense a genre. That doesn't feel right to me. It feels like, I don't know what the word is yet, but it's something to do like mailbox. And so part of what I want to talk about is the fact that you can't, if you turn everything into a genre, then we become this place on the bookshelves that we're expected to only write about certain things or make art about certain things, and we, like any artist, can do whatever. Last one.
Do you make audiobooks?
Please tell my publishers that. I have had my books commissioned for audiobooks, and they invariably hire somebody else. At one point, an actress who had been hired to do the audiobook of something of mine was given permission to phone me because there was a poem in it and she wanted to hear me speak it because it was in Jamaican vernacular, and I got done saying the poem into the phone. It was a Dennis Scott poem called Uncle Time that I've known for since I was a kid. And she said, "Why are you doing this?" And I think it's because they're afraid I won't be understood. Okay, I think we have to wrap up. Thank you all for listening.